Hi, I'm Tobias Neal, and this is the Building What Matters podcast. And today, I want to talk to you about rest. I don't want to talk about it as a concept, but as a practice, as a strategy, and if you lead people, as a responsibility. One thing that has gone hand in hand with my personal healing has been my ability to rest. Literally. The capacity for rest, real rest, the kind where your body actually just lets go, and that didn't happen until my nervous system began to really be regulated. And that didn't happen until I did some deep inner child work, until I started healing parts of myself that had been in survival mode for so long, it didn't know anything else. And if you're anything like me, then maybe you grew up carrying weight you weren't meant to carry. Your body learns that stillness is dangerous, that rest is like vulnerability for you, and sleep is the moment that you just can't reach. And that's not a personality trait, that's a wound. And for a lot of leaders I know, it's the water that they've been swimming in for so long, they just kind of stop noticing it. Whether it's the ministry, recovery work, caregiving, nonprofit leadership, you name it, those spaces attract people like me who are wired to just hold things together, who fill the vacuum of leadership. And a lot of us hold things together because at some point early in our lives, we had to. Nobody else was going to. For me, learning rest wasn't lazy. It was one of the hardest things that I've ever done because it requires belief at a body level, right here, from here down, and not just from here up. A belief that I was safe, that things could hold me without me holding them, that I was allowed to put some of those things down. There's this rhythm to rest. There's this rhythm of ceasing. It's not some sort of punishment, and it's not something that you have to earn. Listen to that. It's not something you have to earn. Rest is a practice. There's this ancient Hebrew concept of shalom. We translate it peace, but really the word peace is kind of too small for that. Shalom is wholeness. It's everything in its right place, and it's built into an old theology that rest is not something you add on when you're finished. Rest is just part of the structure. It's woven into the pattern. God rested. And that's what the text says, not because God was tired, but because rest is how the work is honored. Rest is how you signal that what you built is enough. And for those of us who were formed in traditions that weaponized theology, who were taught that your worth is your sacrifice, who learned that resting meant you weren't serious enough, this is genuinely subversive for you, isn't it? It's hard for you even to hear about that. And that's because rest is radical. It's the rhythm of shalom. It's the sacred pause between who you've been and who you're becoming. Now, here's the leadership question. What would it mean for you, for your organization, if you actually modeled this? That, not just talked about self-care as a concept, but actually modeled rest. Because this idea isn't only personal, it's cultural. The leader who doesn't rest creates teams that don't rest. And that moves through organizations like smoke through a building. And it should be as alarming as such. And it's a leadership failure with real consequences. Now, I might say something here that might press on a little bruise for you, but the system you're working against profits from your exhaustion. In recovery work, in advocacy, in any space where you're trying to dismantle something broken and you're trying to build something better, your depletion is not a side effect. For the structures that benefit from the status quo, your burnout is a feature. It's a mark of success. And that's just not the way it is. Exhausted leaders end up making smaller asks. Depleted advocates end up losing their edge. Worn down communities stop pushing, and burnout keeps the status quo intact. If you're building something that threatens a broken system, your rest is genuinely political. Your rest is resistance in a world that profits from your exhaustion. When you stop, like when you actually stop, you're refusing to let the system take everything. You're protecting something. You're saying, my capacity is not unlimited. I'm not going to pretend otherwise so you can extract more from me. And that is not weakness. That's clarity. That's the kind of leadership that actually lasts. People respect that kind of leadership. And that's the kind of leadership that teaches people how to be in that rhythm. And that rhythm brings alignment and allows you to live parallel and build what matters. Maybe it'd be helpful for you to think about it like this. Rest is a boundary. So when you rest, you're drawing a line around what you will and what you will not give. You're protecting the work by protecting the worker. Rest is a strategy. The leaders who last, the leaders who build things that actually hold, who sustain the work over decades instead of burning bright, then burning out, they know something. They know how to stop. They build rest into the rhythm, not as a reward at the end, but as a practice throughout. And rest is how we move from bitter to better. I know that phrase. It's where this platform came from. The bitter is behind, the better is what I'm standing on now. And one of the things I know for certain now, after everything I've walked through, is that you can't move toward better on fumes. You cannot lead well from depletion. You can't give what you don't have. Sometime you may just need to take a nap. My brother and I call them napskis. That's not some kind of funny punchline. It's just that sometimes that 20 minutes in the middle of an impossible day is saying, I trust the work enough to stop. I believe in what I'm doing enough to protect the capacity to keep doing it. I'm not a machine, and I'm not going to lead like one either. We've got to do that for ourselves, and we definitely have to do it for our people. And maybe you're not a leader in that sense. Maybe you're part of a family or something else, and you're that mother or that father that's just running everywhere and doing everything. You just can't do that. If you've been the strong one, the safe space, the silent fighter, the one who holds it together for everybody else, this is for you. You've been carrying things. Some of it was yours to carry. Some of it was handed to you a long time ago, and nobody ever came back. You've been holding space for other people's healing while quietly wondering if you will ever get to put it down. This is your chance to put it down. You need rest more than you think. And the particular courage it takes for someone in a high responsibility role to actually stop, to not check the messages, to not run the mental loop, to let the body rest before the wall forces it, that is not nothing. That is an act of wisdom. That is an act of leadership. And you don't have to earn it. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to wait until you hit a wall. So may you rest before you break. May you pause before you turn bitter. May you remember your worth is not tied to how much you produce. And may this week bring you rest. And may it feel like that shalom, that rhythm. Rest is how we move from bitter to better. That's what I'm holding on to, and I hope you'll hold on to it too. And if this landed for you today, share it with one person. You don't need to do some big mass post, just one person who's building something, leading something, or healing something, and could use a voice in their ear like this to tell them the truth. You can find Build What Matters on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen, and you can send it their way. If there's somebody who likes to watch this, they can come and watch this here on YouTube. And that's how it finds the people it was meant for. So for everything I do on this podcast, there's a written version on Substack. Sometimes they're longer, sometimes they're more personal, sometimes it's a kind of a different take, gives you something different to sit with. So if you want to go deeper that way, that's where you go to. You can go to tobiasneal83.substack.com and you can subscribe there, and that will come right to your email every time we post. If you're a recovery community organization leader or you're in the middle of building one, I want to invite you to something. The Building What Matters leadership cohort, and it's free. It's virtual. And I'm trying to build it specifically for leaders who are doing this kind of work. It's once a month we're going to be meeting. It's a real room, people to think out loud in, to be together in, and talk about what it means to lead well in that space. Links will be in the show notes or down in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. I would love for you to come find us that way. I'm Tobias Neal. Thank you for watching if you're doing this on YouTube, or listening on the podcast, wherever you find on. Thank you for being here today. Stay in the pocket, and I'll see you in the next episode.